All right, my friends, let's have some fun with macro data. Quiz, 4 questions. Easy peasy. First one, what was the 10-year treasury yield for September 29th, 2025? How do you find that? You could go to Bloomberg, etc. We're going to go to our friend Fred. Let's pull up the browser. Let's go to Fred. And we got to look up the 10-year treasury. Now, if you've been working with me for a while, you know DGS10 is the ticker. How would you find that? I would just recommend Googling data for a 10-year treasury. There's also different categories inside of there. We've spoken about that before. Market yield, U.S. Treasury securities, 10-year constant maturity quoted on an investment basis. You could zoom on in to whatever frequency you want, whatever horizon you want, and right there. Now, I went ahead and I just screenshot that and 4.15. Or what you could do is inside of Fred, you can grab Excel, DGS10, Lin, no transformation, day, n equals 5. The n there tells you the number of observations, the sample size, if you remember in stats. I just grabbed 5 at the point at which I pulled this, and that gave me 4.15. Okay, next up, question number 2. Scooch on over. Compute the spread of the 10-year minus the 2-year treasury yield. Spreads are differences, subtractions of different interest rates, colloquially referred to as the 10-2 spread. You can do 10 to Fed funds, 2 to Fed funds, any of the maturity points along that yield curve. We're going to do the 10-2 spread. I want you to use daily data. January 2nd, 2025, 29 September 2025. I want you to find the biggest, the largest, but the absolute value of that spread. So where was the absolute value of that, the largest? What was the day of the month? Now, what you could do is go directly to Fred. And again, this was data, Fred, 10-2, spread, almost rhymes. It turns out that Fred actually constructs that for you already, which makes it easy peasy. So what you could do is go in over here, and then you can just hover over and change the horizon if you want to find the one that you need. And it is computed for you. Go right down here, the spread between the 10-year and the 2-year. So we know they're calculating it in the way in which we want. And what we could do is just hover over and grab it, or we can copy that ticker and we could put that into Excel. Or what you could do is go back to Excel. And what you could do is you could pull in, there we go, one date in A1, one date, one crew, for one row for every date, DGS10, DGS2, we'll take the difference between them. See those right there? No transformation. See that right there in A2? That's D for daily. You can set your period, beginning of January, end of end of September, and you get all of those rates. Now, we're going to take the difference between them, and should be easy, right? Let's take the absolute value of this one minus that one. Should be no problem. You can take that and you can copy it down. Then I could take the max of that whole thing, and it should be no problem. Maybe you saw what's the problem. Why is there an NA? Because the bond market isn't open on some of the days in which we have listed in the database. So a couple of ways to deal with that. One of the nice ways, not the only way, not necessarily the best way, but one of the nice ways is to drop an if is number on there. So the way that I would read this is start all the way at the end, start all the way on the right. And it's saying, look, give me what I just computed, which is the ABS, B7 minus C7. So take the 10-year on that given day, which is January 2nd, 2025, minus the C7, which is the DGS2, the 2-year on that date. Take the absolute value. But if there's trouble, I want you to give me air quotes. That's what this is. Okay, well, the air quotes are not just for visual. The way in which Excel will compute the maximum will read those air quotes as they're missing. So that's going to be beautiful for us. How do I know if we're all good? Is number B7 true? So is whatever is written in B7 a number? If so, yes. Is C7 a number? If so, yes. When are both of them and good to go. So the way that I read this going from left to right is, look, if we're good to go, if both of these cells, B7 and C7, are numbers, go ahead and give me the absolute value of the difference. If not, give me air quotes. All good, all good, all good, all good, all good. Look at that. We had some trouble. Air quotes. So when you do that, then it computes it nice and neat, 0.67, and you can even find the date. What you can do is use index and match. What that's going to do, and you don't need to do it this way. If it's quick on a quiz, just go ahead and, find for me. We'll just look until you find that big old 0.67. All right. But if you want to be elegant about it, I know you want to be elegant, we're going to use index and match I8. So find for me 0.67 in column D. Exactly, that's the 0. Once you find that row that matches 0.67, look in that table from A all the way to D, 6 to 199. Call out that row in the first column. Why the first column? First column, because that's the date, which is April 21, 2025. Okay, next up. What was the correlation between the 10-year Treasury yield and headline CPI? Use the 10-year Treasury yield without transformation, so just LIN. Use the year-over-year percent delta for the CPI. CPI inflation aggregate daily data to the average where needed, and then compute the correlation from April to September of 2025. So one day, we got the different rows all lined up, DGS10, which we've been playing with, and the CPI. If you don't remember the ticker for the CPI, shame on you. But you go to the front page of Fred, and it's right there at a glance. Oh, easy peasy. Just go ahead and copy that bad boy, put it over here to Excel. Okay, now I don't want a transformation, which means LIN. If you forgot data manipulations, and it gives you all the transforms that you need. First one, LIN, no problem. And then PC1, delta from a year ago, percent delta from a year ago. A2 says M, comma, AVG. Remember, the question was asking you, if you need to, go ahead and aggregate to a monthly frequency. Well, what do I need to? CPI is already monthly. No worries there. DGS10. Now, we could have pulled a monthly ticker directly from Fred, but we're going to play with the DGS10 again, aggregate that to monthly. How do I do that? Each of the days, average them up. Take it from April through September. Grab all them, and then construct the correlation. Now, you notice those are missing, right? Check this out. I'm just going to make this up. Let's say that was 4.3. And suppose I did the correlation. So what's happening? Suppose you had the data for all of September on the DGS10. Right now it's April 6, 2025. So I would have that number, but I don't have the CPI. So it would be blank. So what I'm going to do is go in there and take B7 to B72, all of the DGS10 data, C7 to C71, a little bit less than the CPI because I don't have enough, right? Yeah. Nope, ain't gonna work. Correlations need balanced series. Okay, so what if you called it in and this was an NA, right? Because it's not available yet. So then let me do this. Let me go ahead and extend this bad boy right there, include the NA. And now I got the 7 to 72, 7 to 72 on B and C respectively. Should be good to go. Nope, because it's an NA. All right, so what do we actually want to do? Lots of ways you could do it. Easiest, quickest is just delete that row. And that'll give you 0.075698, and you can round it however you want to follow the conventions. Question number 4. Compute the standard deviation. Easy enough. On the 10-year Treasury, we've been playing with that. Rolling over 12 periods. Use monthly data average from daily observations, January 62 to September 2026. Find the max of that rolling standard deviation. So conceptually, what is this doing? Take a standard deviation over a period. And then what we're going to do on those 12 periods is take away the first row, add the next, take away the first row, add the next, and keep on doing that, but keeping your window at 12 periods. Let's do that. VGS10, Lin, no transform. Roll that up to the monthly. Again, we could have pulled a monthly ticker. Go from 1962 forward. Here, the date at which I'm pulling it, October 6, 2025. Good to go through September. Get all that data. Now, I want you to go down to December 62 and look, that is 12 observations. See that count there where my cursor is? 12 observations. So we're going to compute that standard deviation. That is 1 point. I want to roll that standard deviation. So what we're going to do is watch the blue, okay? See that first blue is January 62. The last blue is December 62. I dropped January 62. I added January 63. I rolled it down by 1 period. Watch it again. Drop February 62. Add February 63. So on and so forth. Okay, so I did that throughout. And I computed the max. I even, just for fun's sake, because this is how I have fun, match index. What you do is you read from the right side forward. So this is looking at G12. Find for me in column C 1.607. Find for me that row where it matches exactly. That's the 0. Now that I have that row, look in column A and find for me the value in that row. January 1983. Let's see if we can find that. January 1983. 1.607. Exactamundo. All right, that wasn't necessary in order to complete the question as phrased, but I know you always want to go above and beyond. Hope that helps, my friends.